Healing, it can get so very messy, but when you talk about it, it can feel so healthy. Yeah, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about it. Hey, let's talk about it. Hey, let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? If you're here, welcome to Healing Gets Messy. I'm your host, Eilena. And let me just say, we got a lot to talk about, okay? I know you're probably wondering what the hell's going on. This girl's in her pajamas in her bed. She got a pink silicone spatula. And you either here for the stories or you're not. So, anyways, I'm so happy you're here. And I'm hoping you can take something away from all my crazy ass stories because trust me, I have a lot of them, okay? If you've ever reflected to yourself and thought, how do I keep ending up in these crazy ass relationships, these unhealthy, toxic, abusive relationships? Or maybe you felt like you're carrying all your weight on your shoulders. You can't let go of certain trauma. Or maybe you're dealing with a loss and that loss has completely changed you as a person. A lot of people can't understand that complexity, so it makes it hard to talk about, right? I know exactly what you're going through, and I'll be the first person to say that you're not alone because I felt all of that and more, which is a big reason why we're here today. This is the first episode. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you are too. But I just want to make it be known that I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some healing guru or that I'm just like a healing perfectionist. I just got all my shit together because I really don't, okay? Don't don't let the good looks fool you. I don't have it all together. All right, I'm just like you. We're just like each other. Healing is messy. It ain't no linear progression. My healing, it's sort of similar to like that big ass roller coaster at Six Flags. You know, the one that goes up and down, side to side, around and round. Yeah, that's what my healing journey looks like. So don't get it twisted. All healing really is just realizing that your life is worth living. That's something that took me a long time to understand. And once you get that processed through your little brains, healing becomes a lot easier. I ain't saying it's a easy process. I'm just saying it gets a lot easier to do. Without diving into my life story, because that would take a lot longer than about 30 minutes, I just want to share a little bit of why I decided to make this podcast, Healing Gets Messy. You know, there's always a little truth in every joke, right? That's what they say. And something I love to tell people is that I've lived many lives because it's true. I've lived, woo, Lordy Jesus, I've actually lived quite a few lives in my young 30 years of life. In all of those different lives, I've experienced so many different things. And unfortunately, a lot of them weren't really good things. I've experienced unhealthy relationships, domestic violence, trauma, emotional trauma, depression, anxiety. I've been living with type 1 diabetes since I was 17. I've lived with regret. The worst thing that's probably ever happened to me, though, was losing my little brother unexpectedly and tragically. Because not only did that affect me, but it affected my entire family. And losing a sibling, especially a younger sibling, it's a difficult thing, and I don't wish that even on my worst enemy. But going through all of those things, it made me realize that I want to talk about it, and this is the perfect way to do so. For the longest time, I've just been surviving. Through therapy, I've learned that my brain, it survives off chaos. It thrives off chaos, right? My whole entire life has been chaos. So it's all my brain really knows. And I'm in the current steps of rewiring my brain, trying to retrain it to get used to this tranquility and peace that I live now. And sometimes I still struggle with that. I've repeatedly found myself in situations where, in the end, all that happens is I get hurt and I end up in a worse situation than when I was before that relationship or situation started. I've questioned my worth. I've put others before me. This was my day to day life for quite a long time. Eventually, I realized that I wanted better. We should all want better. But in order to get better, you have to put in the work because you don't just magically wake up and your life is cupcakes and rainbows. You have to put in that work. So you're either going to level up or you're going to stay complaining about the same shit. So which one is it going to be? Are you going to continue complaining about the same shit? Or are you going to level up with me? I hope you picked the second option. Over these next several episodes, we're going to be talking about hella shit. We're going to be talking about unhealthy relationships, attachments, boundaries, trauma, grief, how to rebuild your life after it all falls apart. We're going to be talking about some real shit over here. So buckle up, Buttercup. You better get ready. Some of these episodes are going to be very personal and vulnerable for me. Some of them are going to be educational. You might get some laughs, you might get some cries. But I really just hope I impact somebody, even if it's just one person. If I have 2 views on this podcast, I hope one of those views gets impacted by my stories because it takes a lot to tell the kind of stories I'm going to be telling. Okay, let me just say that.
No, that's a lot of damage.
So, anyways, if you're listening, maybe today is the start of your healing journey. Maybe you've been healing for years. Maybe you haven't even started healing yet. And if you haven't, take this as your opportunity and hint to do so. Start healing, baby, because you can only go up from here. So, welcome to Healing Gets Messy. Let's put in the work together. One question that I frequently get asked when I start telling little tidbits of my love life is, why didn't you just leave? That sounds easy, right? Like, girl, why didn't you just pack your bags and go? Why didn't you just tell him, hey, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I'm leaving. It doesn't work like that, though, in abusive relationships. It doesn't work like that in unhealthy relationships. And it doesn't work like that in trauma bonded relationships. No, ma'am. For a long time, when people would ask me that question, I didn't even know how to respond. I would always give real vague answers like, oh, I was young and dumb. I didn't know any better. I don't know. I just wasn't thinking. But after a lot of reflection and when I started taking accountability for my own actions and all of this craziness I was living, I started to realize that people stay in relationships. There's 2 reasons. We create an idea of the relationship we want in our heads. And that's what keeps us there. That's what keeps us anchored in the relationship. We don't pay attention to the reality. We don't even, a reality who? Baby, I'm living in the Lulu world up here, and me and my man are great. The second reason is because you don't love yourself. I did not love myself in both of my serious relationships, which I had 2 back to back. One was about 2 years, and then I jumped straight into another one that lasted 3 years. I would say for about 5 to 6 years, I was living in an abusive relationship. I didn't love myself during the entire time. And in both relationships, I was in love with the potential. Keyword potential. I wasn't dating reality, I was dating potential. And that's what keeps people stuck. Every good day just made me forget about the bad week. And every promise gave me this false hope that the relationship was headed in a positive direction, which it never really was. Again, I was living in Delulu world. I was their number one resident. Okay. I paid rent every month on time, every month. So, anyways, today I want to share a story about my second relationship, my second serious relationship. I want to share this little story because it's not too crazy, but it's enough to make you go, what the fuck is wrong with this girl?
What the fuck?
Right? Perfect medium. No, but I want to share it because I feel like this is a good story that kind of mirrors and really shows the message I'm trying to portray in this episode, which is why people stay. And a part of me staying is the potential, right? And I don't love myself. And I think this story really portrays that. And you can see it through the actions I took throughout this story and just how everything unfolded. I didn't love myself and I was in love with the potential. I wasn't in love with the reality. Whew. Now, this is just the first story out of many stories I have. These stories are ugly, but they are entertaining for the listener. And I'm aware of that, which is why I'm also sharing these stories. I just want to remind people, though, that this was my life at one point in time. And I was this person, but I'm not that person anymore. I'm a completely different person. And every story that I share on this podcast is pretty old, at least 3 or 4 years old. But most of the stories that I plan on sharing on this podcast are about 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, maybe even closer to 10 years old. So I'm a completely different person. And I just want everyone to keep that in mind as you listen to these stories. I'm not that same person anymore. So please give me grace. I hope this makes you laugh. I hope you can relate to me. And I hope you can see that this is a vulnerable process for me. It's scary. I'm letting y'all into my real lives. This is real trauma your girl went through. This ain't no made up shit. Ring, ring, ring. Truth is always scarier than fiction. I'm on a healing journey now, though, which is why it's okay to talk about these stories. I got to process this shit somehow, which is why I created Healing Gets Messy. So let's get into it. Around 2019, I was living in Dallas Fort Worth area in Texas. I was newly single, just got out of my first serious relationship, and I was not ready to focus on myself. I didn't know how to live alone. I didn't know how to be alone. I needed somebody there. Would I ever admit that at that age? Absolutely not. But I didn't know how to be alone. So what did I do? I got on a dating app and I met my next boyfriend on there. For sake of names, we'll call him Bobby. When I met Bobby, he was alright looking. You know, he wasn't the best looking, but he passed the test. Let's just put it that way. But he was charismatic. He was funny. He was confident. He had everything I was looking for in a person, right? And he had everything that the last guy didn't have. Relationships are all about perception too, right? That really sold me. He was nothing like my first boyfriend, or so I thought. He had a lot of connections. He was good at networking. He was good at portraying himself as a certain type of individual. And I fell in love with that potential. I remember specifically thinking to myself, we could be a power couple. So before the relationship even began, I was already thinking about the potential. That's a red flag on my end. So my relationship with Bobby, it moved pretty fast. By month 2, maybe month 3, I was already moving in. I was leaving my 1 bedroom apartment and I was moving into his 2 bedroom apartment. Everything was in his name, all that good stuff. Simultaneously, during this time, I had a homegirl. For the sake of name calling, we'll call her Susie. Susie didn't want to live where she was living anymore, right? She wanted to come to Dallas. She wanted to start new. So me being a good friend, I said, "Hey girl, come on down. You ain't got to pay rent. You ain't got to do nothing. I'll feed you, I'll house you, I'll clean for you. Just get your life together." So she decided to come down. And when she first came down, it was cool. Bobby was working as a truck driver, so he was never really home. Susie was trying to get a job and start generating her own type of income, and I was working. But slowly, I started to notice weird little things. For example, she hits me up one day through a text message, and she's like, "Hey," mind you, everyone called me Callie during this time. They didn't call me Eilina. That was just a nickname I had. She's like, "Hey, Callie, I got an interview. I was wondering if you could take me there." So I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the address she gives me. This location's like 45 minutes away. So I'm like, "Hey girl, this is kind of far. There's a Kroger like literally across the street. You could just try to apply there." I'm just telling her like there's other jobs, this is super far and I don't feel like driving all that way. And I remember she wrote me back and said, "I know how to find a job. You don't have to tell me how to find a job." And I remember thinking like, okay, my bad, girl. But it was kind of weird because I'm like, where is this The attitude for what? So I felt like she was being inconsiderate of my time. She started kind of getting disrespectful, started getting rude. And I mean, it's okay to feel these things, but girl, you in my house. You ain't paying no bills. So what you getting rude for? It started to make me feel uncomfortable. I didn't like it. I called Bobby because remember, he's a truck driver. He's not home. I tell him, hey, look, Susie, she's getting rude. She's getting disrespectful. I'm starting to feel uncomfortable in the house. Like, I don't even want to be home anymore because she's so rude. I don't think I want her to live there anymore. So I'm thinking about telling her, like, hey, you got a few weeks, but you're going to have to leave. And he was so adamant on not letting her leave. He straight up told me, give her another chance. And I just remember being like, give her another chance. I don't want to. But what was I supposed to do? So I decided to give her another chance. That should have been my first red flag. Why does he care if Susie stays? I didn't even think about that. Because again, I was in love with the potential. I wasn't looking at the reality. I wasn't looking at right what was in my face. I'm thinking about the future, honey. I'm thinking about what's not even existing. So I don't even know why. Bobby quits his truck driving job. Now he's back home. So now I got Susie and Bobby in the house. They both unemployed. They both ain't doing a damn thing besides eating all the groceries and using all the electricity. Florida. I'm getting PTSD just thinking about all this, y'all. This is a lot. Okay. Oh God. I can't help but laugh because this is really my life. I was really living through this. So this was the beginning of me and Bobby's relationship. I should have took heed then because Bobby quitting a job, Bobby not keeping a job. Oh, that was the basis of our entire 3-year relationship. He never kept the job. But back to the story. Him and Susie are doing nothing essentially while I'm going to work and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I remember one day Bobby wanted to go out. Bobby loved going out. That was Bobby. If Bobby could have a job of going out to the club, that would be his job. He loved going out. He loved having people see him. He loved just being out there, right? He loved being out in the streets. So he's telling me, let's go out. So I'm like, okay. So I get home from work. Susie's not home. Bobby asks me, where's Susie at? And I'm like, I don't know. I could try to call her though. Ring, ring, ring. Ring, ring, ring. Ring, ring, ring. No answer. Okay, girl. Susie didn't answer. I guess we'll just go without her. A few minutes later, Bobby's like, I'm going to give her a call. Let me see if she answers. Pulls out the phone. Ring. Hello. This girl answered before the phone could even ring. That was my second red flag. Because why is you answering when my man calling? You forwarding me straight to voicemail. The math ain't mathing, but guess what? 2 plus 2 equals 3 in this delusional world because I was living in hog heaven up in potential land, so that didn't matter to me. And I remember a few days after this, I hung out with another homegirl of mine, and I'm telling her about all this stuff, and she's telling me, "Girl, I think Bobby and Susie are doing the do." And I'm like, "Nah, girl, I don't think so." I was minimizing it. Nah, that ain't happening. Whatever, right? Ooh, Lord. So a few more weeks go by and Susie still doesn't have a job. Susie's still not contributing, which was okay. I told her she didn't have to contribute. But what did become a problem is Susie wanted me to start paying her bills that she abandoned where she was at. She wanted me to start paying for bills that had nothing to do with me. And I guess this is where Bobby drew the line. Bobby also agreed it was time for her to leave. So he comes to me, he tells me, look, I'll talk to Susie. I'll tell her that she has a few weeks, but she's going to have to leave the apartment. And I'm like, okay, I'm over here like, good. I'm glad you're having that conversation with her because I don't. She's already always constantly being rude to me, avoiding me, never wanting to see me. I mean, it was like a whole new person. This wasn't the friend that I used to have. So once he has this conversation with her, he then comes and tells me that Susie was
Pissed.
which granted, I kind of figured she'd be upset. But what caught me off guard a little bit is he said that Susie started just talking super bad about me, talking about, I mean, I can't even remember, but just real disrespectful stuff, right? Calling me bees and just, whatever little fun words you can think of in your head. I'm sure that's what she was telling Bobby. And I found that as another red flag because I'm like, why is Susie so comfortable telling Bobby all these things about me? Two plus two is equaling three. I'm living in the Lulu land, remember? It gets through Susie's head that she can't be there, right? We gave her a few weeks though, like literally like 3 or 4 weeks. I think we gave her 4 weeks that she had to, find different arrangements and that sort of thing. The next morning I wake up and she's gone. Like literally everything of hers is gone. She left. She had her own room. The room was cleared out. She's gone. And I remember kind of being like, dang, like I was kind of hurt because things didn't work out the way I intended them to, but I still looked at her as a friend. So I was kind of hurt that she just said, or she didn't say anything. She just left without saying anything. And so I'm sitting in bed, I'm chilling. It's probably like 10, 11 a.m. Bobby's not here. Bobby's off, I don't know, doing whatever he was doing. My phone goes off and it's Susie. And it says, mind you, Susie always called me Callie. She didn't call me Eilena. She called me Callie. I'd never heard her call me by my name before. It was always Callie. I get a text message from her and it says, Eilena, period. Dun, dun, dun. I remember looking at that message and being like, oh my God, I could feel the anger. I could feel the animosity. I could cut the tension with a knife. Like I knew from this one word text. Who Lord Jesus. Yeah, she was angry. Urgh, she was like a pit bull, baby. She was mad. And I just remember being like, hey girl. Hey. Hey.
How y'all doing?
You doing okay? Because I didn't know what to say, right? What am I supposed to say to that? You just left without saying nothing. And now you texted me talking about Eilena? She writes back, and without skipping a beat, it says, I've been fucking Bobby behind your back for the last several weeks. If you don't believe me, here's the proof. And sends me a plethora of screenshots. And these screenshots were disrespectful. It was saying stuff like, Callie leaves in 10 minutes, come in my room in about 15. Callie's about to leave. Go ahead and hop in the shower. I'm going to hop in the shower and we can meet back in the bedroom. Callie doesn't get home till 10 o'clock tonight. Let's rendezvous in the bedroom. Just a whole bunch of stuff like that. And I'm looking at the phone like,
Hell no, man. What the
oh,
fuck?
oh, baby, I was in shock. Even though all the signs and my friend literally told me this was happening, I didn't believe none of it. So I'm just sitting in shock, right? I'm super upset. I'm getting emotional. But what I didn't do, I did not respond to Susie. What was I supposed to say to Susie after that? Well, Susie did not like that I didn't respond. Susie was blowing me up from every angle. I mean, she was calling me off different numbers. She was messaging me on Instagram, messaging me on Facebook, Snapchat, anything we was friends on social media, she was contacting me, right? She really wanted to talk. I don't even think she wanted to talk though. I think she just wanted to see me hurt that she slept with my man. I think it irritated her so much that I wasn't responding that she started to say she was going to beat my ass. Like literally, she's like, I'm gonna come to the apartment and beat your ass. So I'm like, oh Jesus, because this girl was bigger than me. Okay, like come on now, I'm gonna put up a fight. I'm gonna put up a fight. But so at this point, I call Bobby because I'm like, what is going on? And when Bobby answers the phone, he tells me that first he tries to deny it, right? But then I tell him like I have screenshots and she's talking about she wants to beat my ass, so I know what's going on. He just fed me a Bible of bullshit. And of course, I was upset with him, but it didn't take long before I completely forgave him. Through my trauma, I've realized a lot of stuff I've blocked out. So I can't remember exactly every detail or I would give them to you. I truly can't remember. But what I do know is that I forgave him with ease. He did not have to work for my apology. or he did not have to work for his apology, for my acceptance of his apology. I gave it to him freely, happily. And I decided that I still wanted to work on this relationship. Why? Because I did not love myself. And I was in love with the potential. This man just slept with a good friend of mine. And he wasn't helping with the bills. And he just quit his job. And I still stayed with his ass. I was living in Delulu world. I'm telling y'all, I was the number one resident. I was. And Susie, I never talked to her again. She actually ended up stealing a bunch of my clothes that I realized later on that day. She stole a bunch of my stuff. But yeah, never talked to Susie again. And that was the beginning of a 3-year relationship with Bobby. A tumultuous relationship. I mean, zero benefits in that relationship for me. He just sucked me dry, which we'll get into that in future stories. This story is minor in comparison to our entire relationship or my entire life. But I thought this was a good story that reflects today's message, which is we stay in unhealthy relationships because we fall in love with the potential of the relationship and we do not love ourselves. And those were two big factors that I dealt with in that story. I did not love myself at all. I didn't know how to be alone. I didn't want to be alone. And I also fell in love with the potential. I had this idea of Bobby in my head, and he just wasn't there yet. We were going to get there. That's why I was so willing to forgive him. We hadn't made it to potential land yet. I wanted my power couple, so I stayed with him. If I could go back in time, I would shake myself to death and I would tell myself, girl, what the hell are you doing? But I didn't. And in relationships like the one I had with Bobby, they breadcrumb you. They give you a little sprinkle of genuinity so you can crave that, right? It's like a drug. You chase it because they never give it to you. And all you want is that little piece of genuinity that you got in that moment. And you spend the entire relationship chasing a day's worth of love, 5 seconds worth of love. It's not even love, it's like lust. It's not real. There's good moments and there's good times that kept me locked in, but they weren't ever good enough. But again, I didn't love myself, so I stayed. Healing gets messy. And this shit over here, baby, it gets hella messy. Some days you're going to feel like you're going forward. Some days you're going to feel like you're going backwards. But the whole idea of healing is it's continuous. It's a marathon. It's not a day's worth. It's something you're going to do for the rest of your life. And that's the end of today's episode. I want to thank you if you made it all the way to the end for sitting here with me and listening to one of my experiences. Thank you for being patient with me, allowing me to be vulnerable in this space. Until next time, keep choosing yourself, even when it feels hard or selfish. We in the glow up stages, baby. See y'all next week.
Healing, it can get so very messy, but when you talk about it, it can feel so healthy. Yeah, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, yeah.